I'm being labelled as heartless by my daughter's mother because I refuse to cover our tween daughter's medical cost. Here's the situation. I started my startup company when I was 19 in college and needed extra money. I was friends with Molly for a couple of months and she had my number. She knew a woman who wanted to have a baby, but both she and her husband were infertile. The woman hired Molly and wanted to use her eggs, and Molly asked me to donate my part. I agreed, we did the deed, and they paid me well so I could start my business. Long story short, something happened, and the couple didn't want the baby anymore. They went to court and Molly kept the baby, not the money. I was already long gone by then and honestly forgot I even had a bio daughter till I got a phone call from Molly yesterday. To sum it all up, my bio daughter was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. The doctor gave her a list of things that she now needs to survive, like a blood glucose meter, test strips, lancets, insulin syringes, or pen needles. Without insurance, all these items cost over $1,000. Molly doesn't have insurance or anything to her name since she dropped out of college for a baby she couldn't afford. Before I could call anyone a liar, Molly sent me plenty of proof of medical papers of her daughter and the needed cost. However, I told her no and reminded her that she fought in court to keep her and I wasn't paying a thing. But I'm guessing she didn't like my laughing tone because she began shouting. She began railing on how the first thing I say is no when I found out my daughter I've never met needs medical care. But I repeated my answer and told her I wasn't arguing about something I'd already decided on. But that's when she threatened to sue me for child support, shouting how I haven't paid anything in all these years and she'll drain me dry, calling me a greedy, selfish person who could easily afford to pay for her daughter's medical bills without me even noticing anything left my account. She even dared to say all the money I have rightfully belongs to our daughter since I used the donor money to help my startup, which is now very successful, but I immediately hung up and blocked her. I didn't feel like being continually threatened and screamed at for a child who isn't my responsibility. I'm about to have a child of my own with my wife and don't need this kind of stress. So am I the idiot for refusing to pay for my daughter's insulin even though I can afford it with ease? I came on this story fully ready to rip you a new one and call you a massive idiot, but much to my surprise, you're not the idiot. You were a donor in the formal sense, not the snarky deadbeat dad sense, and you absolutely didn't sign up for this. Everything that happened after your donation was utterly unforeseeable. You were never a father figure to the child and never was supposed to be. This simply isn't your child in anything but the most technical sense. She's just desperate. Was your donation done with legal representation? A contract? Based on the scenario you've presented, you're a donor and nothing more. Molly considered you as such until she needed money. Is she offering you visitation, a chance to get to know the child or any role at all in the child's life? In any case, you may want to consult a lawyer. Based on a possible mandated DNA test, the state you or she is in could enforce child support. You donated with good intentions and those intentions should not be held against you. Wait. So by donating you mean you just had intimacy with Molly? Dude, if you didn't do this legally with a sperm bank, you will lose if she says that you got her pregnant and you have no legal documents proving that you donated sperm and have no responsibility over this child. If this is the case, you are the idiot and also a dumb idiot for doing something like that in such a shady way. Yep, you are probably screwed if she sues you. OMG, so he just donated the old-fashioned way, in which, congrats daddy, it's a girl. OP is legally screwed, I bet. Chances are a lawyer can tear apart the legal paperwork. It's legally his child, and she could sue for child support. Dude, it sounds like you met some folks who asked you and Molly to make them a baby and they paid you both a hefty sum to do it. It doesn't sound like you went through a formalized institution because donations don't pay the amount of money you're insinuating you got. Tell your wife what you did and pay for some of the kids' medical care. Then maybe next time you'll think long and hard about this before just donating to anyone. My eldest is going to get married soon and I have a beautiful wedding dress I promised my daughter that she could wear. It's basically a beaded ball gown. I have issues with my future daughter-in-law. It's nothing major, but she spread words I didn't say. I'm only 44. In the beginning, I thought she was misunderstanding what I was saying, or I said something that made her mad, so I started to interact with her only through texts or when other people were around. I haven't had to use any of my messages until now. She tried to call me earlier this week, and I told her I was busy and to text it. I'm glad I did. She wanted to use my wedding dress and to do alterations to it. I told her no, since I promised my daughter that it was hers. The next day, I got a ton of texts from family members about me not being welcoming and telling her that she wasn't my kid. I got so many that I just took screenshots of the texts and sent them to the whole family. The entire family was upset she lied to them. I got on a FaceTime call with my son and her. My daughter was in the room during this. She gave me an apology and I told her not to do it again. Now my son and she are angry that I didn't say I forgive you. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She sounds like a drama hound who molds the world around her until she's a victim. Exhausting. Stand your ground. Just because she has your son whipped doesn't mean everyone else has to kowtow to her. If you haven't forgiven her, why would you say such? Then you'd be the liar. Honestly, I bet the only reason the future daughter-in-law wanted forgiveness was that she could twist it around and be like, "So since you forgive me, I can get the dress now, right?" Daughter-in-law is sneaky and it'll get worse. Just keep safeguarding yourself and urge your daughter to also start doing this. Honey, hang on tight because there is a fun joyride coming your way with this daughter-in-law. The audacity to ask for someone else's wedding dress that they're keeping for their daughter and then complain to other people about it. Yeah, she's trouble. I have 3 entitled sisters-in-law who think they own the world, and my family needs to bend over backward for them. My mom and siblings did, but I didn't want to be a part of that drama, so I went no contact. They spread a whole bunch of lies about what my family did to them, and the world believed them. Keep all your conversations via text. You sound like a smart woman. Keep your distance to keep your son and your own home happy. My sister has been having a hard time with her husband. She's the breadwinner and mom of their 2 kids. She works hard all the time and him not at all. He was unemployed for 10 years and only after the global issue did he get a call center job. Later, he's been accusing her of having an affair. It's really taking its toll on her as it's not true and she doesn't have time for this crap. He's been doing this for years. They had kids and the accusation stopped, but they started again a few months ago. She asked me for advice. I suggested that they have the Life 360 app on their phone so he can see where she is at all times to prove he's talking crap. Not the best suggestion, I know, but when I suggested divorce in the past before the kids, it didn't go down too well. Anyway, I offered this app to hopefully buy her some time to think, etc., etc. She told him about it. He immediately shut it down, refused to have the app, and as far as I know, the accusation ceased immediately. I found this suspicious. So if you're convinced she's cheating, wouldn't you like to track her whereabouts? Unless you have something to hide and therefore don't want to be tracked yourself. I told my sister this, and now she's upset with me, blocked me, and told me to screw off. Am I the idiot for getting suspicious? Edit, I was in her position once, so I felt qualified to help when she asked. I eventually left my ex as it turns out he was the one cheating. Since my sister wants to put up with this, the tracking app was the only viable advice I could give. Not the idiot, but I just stay out of this from now on. I agree with you that he sounds suspicious. I hate saying that. Maybe he's projecting, I don't know. Your sister is apparently repeatedly asking for your advice, so it's not like you're butting in or inserting yourself where it's not wanted. Still, I recommend not engaging in this topic any further. If she unblocks you and asks for advice on whatever is going on with her husband next time, just say something along the lines of, "Sorry, but I don't want to talk about this anymore." This couple needs therapy, not you. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Oh, he's cheating for sure. She knows it, but she doesn't want to admit it. You can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. Leave her to it. Eventually, he'll leave her for some younger model or she'll come to her senses. Stay out of it. She won't want to feel alienated when she needs you all. Carry on as normal and don't interfere. Just be there when she needs it. There may be more she's leaving out. If you cut her off, she won't feel safe to leave when the time is right. Oh, I'm sure the story his side piece heard is way different from this one. I work my butt off all day at my glamorous high-paying job while my horrible wife cheats on me all day. OP, but be available when sis and nibblings need you again. Listen, but refuse to advise. I feel sorry for the kids though. As a child, I saw my father accuse my mom of cheating, something a child never forgets. Turns out he was cheating on my mom and projecting it on her. When they separated and finally divorced, we, as kids, understood. On Saturday, my toddler daughter and my mom went to the next town for a day of shopping. It's summer at the moment in my country, and where we live it gets really hot. After watching a movie, we walked back to my car, which was in the sun on the roof of the car park. We ran into an old friend of Mum's who lives in the same town as her, and they started talking. I politely stood in the hot sun with my daughter for 10 minutes, listening to the two of them talk. My daughter starts fidgeting and getting grumpy. I realised that she's overheating and needs to get in the shade. I told my mum we had to get my daughter into the shade and asked if she could chat with her friend at home. My mum snaps at me that I need to teach my daughter to be patient and respectful when adults are speaking. This was the story of my entire childhood. My mum is very inconsiderate of myself and my siblings' needs. Whenever she would run into a friend, she would make us wait in a hot car or in the heat while she chatted with them for 30 minutes. When we were in long car rides and we needed to pee, she would make us wait until we got to our destination. I remember peeing myself a couple of times because of this, and she would scold me for peeing myself on purpose. I remember going the entire day without food besides breakfast, if we were out running errands and her refusing to take us home and feed us or buy us food to eat. She would spend hours on the phone talking to her friends and ignoring us kids, and if we dared ask her for something, she would snap at us to leave her alone and complain that she never gets time to herself. The conversation and her comments triggered me and I got really angry. I promptly took my daughter to the car and started to drive out of the parking lot. I stopped by my mum and told her I was taking my daughter home now and she could either come with us now or find another way home. She laughed at me and said to stop being dramatic and that she would take as long as she needed with her friend. She thought I was bluffing and would pull over and wait for her. Instead, I drove off without her and got a call 20 minutes later asking where I was. I told her I was on my way home and for her to get another ride. I didn't listen to the rest and hung up on her. I got a text from her that night saying how I acted disrespectful to her and left her stranded. Her friend left before she realised I was gone and didn't answer the phone while driving. I told my mum I wasn't going to let my kid pass out from heat exhaustion because she wanted to flap her jaws for an hour. I also brought up the previous things and told her she needs to consider other people's needs over her wants. We got into a big row and she said I crossed a big line, leaving her stranded even if the other stuff was true. Now that I've cooled down a bit, I feel guilty for what I did and for not bringing it up more maturely. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your mother is selfish and irresponsible. What she did to you when you were a child is neglect and abuse. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You stood up for your daughter and prioritized her, which you should have done. You warned your mom about the consequences if she continued to stand there and flap her gums. Her response was flippant and nasty, and she ate the consequences of her actions. That's on her, not you. There's nothing for you to feel guilty about. You did nothing wrong. Wow, you're a great mom. Your mom, on the other hand, is not so much. It reads like she hides her lack of consideration for others behind some magical convention of respect to the elders. Not letting kids use the restroom is abuse. Good for you to break the cycle. I hope you stick to your new path of not allowing her abuse in your life. I'd go no contact with her and start seeing a therapist. The nonchalant way you described her actions means you don't see the damage for what it is. I think now that OP has taken back her power, the mom has no way to abuse her anymore. OP now has the opportunity to take the good parts of her relationship with her mom and be impervious to the attempts at abuse. No contact is quite painful for the victim, so unless OP isn't able to handle her mother, which she has shown she can, there's no need for her to put herself through that. I, male 24, am afraid of dogs. I have been for a long time thanks to a traumatic experience from when I was a teenager. I'm able to pet smaller dogs, e.g. poodles, but with anything even medium size, I do my best to stay away from them. People in my life know about this and are generally understanding, including my girlfriend Viv, 23, who I live with. One of Viv's friends was leaving the country for a couple of weeks to tend to a family matter and asked Viv if she'd be willing to take in her German Shepherd while she was gone. Viv decided to run this by me and I said I didn't want a big dog in my living space. Once I told Viv this, she immediately countered that it'd only be for a couple of weeks and would be a good way to overcome my fear. I then reiterated that I wasn't comfortable having a dog that size in my apartment, and this escalated into an argument in which she told me that my phobia wasn't that bad and to get over it. I then gave Viv an ultimatum. If the dog comes into our apartment, I'm staying with a friend for the time he's there. She then called her friend to tell her she couldn't take the dog in but has given me the cold shoulder since. In what world is a German Shepherd going to help with your phobia? She clearly cares more about the friend than she does about you. You gave her the wrong ultimatum. She chooses the dog or you, period. Your girlfriend is a